evening, everyone, to the La Jolla December 11th, 2024 School Board meeting. I'm hereby calling the meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. First item on the agenda is for us to have roll call. If I could have you identify yourself from my right to the left.
Jessica Ochoa, present.
Carlos Margo, present.
Anita Chavez, present.
Alisa Peña, present.
Rosalba Hernandez, present.
Celso Gomez Jr., present.
Thank you, everyone. We do have quorum and everyone is in attendance tonight. If I could ask everyone to stand, if you're able to do so, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, next item on the agenda is public comment. Let me remind those that have signed up for public comment tonight that you do have 3 minutes. Following the 3 minutes, you will be informed by our Vice President that your time is up. And we ask that if you do go over, that you can refrain. You can go ahead and provide public comment at a later date. With that said, Madam Secretary, could you inform us who the first person who signed up for public comment is?
Yes, if we can please have Ms. Alexia Autumn Hernandez make your way to the podium, please.
And again, for the record, if you could state your name.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Alexia Autumn Hernandez, and I am a sophomore class president at the Academy of Health Science Professions in STEM. I am testifying here today to ask you all to please reconsider and not close any schools within the district. With Academy of Health Science Professions in STEM, Delma Salinas, and La Jolla Early College, all on the chopping block, I want to remind you of the unintended consequences this decision will have. Firstly, the economic impact on our community will be felt in waves. The loss of teachers, administrative staff, and support staff would be devastating, not to mention what this would mean for students. Teacher-student ratios will increase, putting more stress on our teachers, not leaving students without the personalized attention and support we need. For students, the loss of a small, personal learning environment would be damaging to morale. The close-knit atmosphere at our schools make all the difference at HSP. Everyone feels like family. Everyone knows each other, and teachers are more than just educators. They're mentors and guides. Our teachers go above and beyond, taking the time to personally check on us, not only about our grades, but about our well-being. They know us by name and care about our success, both inside and outside the classroom. Their kindness and support makes this school feel like a safe haven where we can all thrive, and that's something larger schools may not be able to offer. Furthermore, the loss of certifications and specialized programs that are offered at the school, like HSP, would hinder the district's goal for college readiness. Moving students to schools like Jimmy Carter, which may not offer the same programs, would not help prepare us for the future. We deserve the opportunities that are unique to our current schools. And closing them would set back many students who are working hard to earn their certifications in the fields that will help us succeed in college and beyond. I'm a third-generation student here in the La Jolla ISD school district. My family has benefited from these countless opportunities this district has offered. From AP classes to extracurricular activities, I implore you not to cut back on the current opportunities and privileges that are available to us. Finally, I would like to speak on behalf of the amazing environment fostered by our principal, Ms. Herrera. Our principal knows every student by name and constantly asks for feedback to improve the school. That personalized approach, which is so vital for student success, will be lost if their schools are closed. Thank you for your time and for considering the lasting impact this decision will have on students, families, and the entire community.
Thank you.
Next, we have Brisa Bernal.
Good evening. My name is Brisa Bernal, and I'm a student at the Academy of Health Science Professions in STEM, one of the 4 high schools directly impacted by the proposed consolidation. I'm coming here to ask you to reconsider this proposal because it's not just about the data on PowerPoints or the goal of efficiency. It's about the students, teachers, and staff whose lives will be affected. Each of the 4 schools affected by the proposed merger has their own cultures, traditions, and their own sense of community. These schools are not just buildings to us. They are places where we have contributed our successes to, and where we have worked so hard to create something meaningful. Over the years, we built a sense of belonging here, whether it was through clubs, leadership positions, or the connections we have formed with each other. They are more than just places to learn. They have become a sense of comfort, and more specifically, our second homes. And for this exact reason, the consolidation is so upsetting. It's not just about merging the schools to address issues that you consider urgent. It's about tearing the foundation of what makes each of our schools so special. We have devoted our time, our energy, and our hearts into building something that felt like ours, and now that is all at risk. On top of that, the consolidation will create disorder within our community. It will not only disrupt our education, but create chaos that will radiate throughout the entire district. The jobs of our teachers will be at risk. Our teachers are more than just teachers. They are mentors who have continued to guide and support us. Along with this, many teachers at these schools are overqualified and provide high-quality education. However, some are starting to feel uncertain about their future in La Joya ISD, causing them to want to leave to neighboring districts. To add on to that, some employees at these schools are at risk of losing their livelihoods because they don't have the ability to go elsewhere. Because of this, we will lose the stability where we need it the most, our schools. All the jobs that will be lost will dismantle the foundation we have built in these classrooms. Custodians, lunch staff, nurses, administration, and teachers' positions are all at risk. And this leads me to question something. The school district's motto is educational excellence, the right of every student. But I have to ask, how can you claim to uphold this motto when a decision like this disrupts the education of so many? The decision to move forward with the consolidation may seem like a step closer to efficiency. However, it is not effective. It is putting the very thing that our education seeks to secure at risk, our futures. In all, the proposed merger is not just about efficiency or data. It is about the students, the teachers, and employees who rely on these schools for their futures. It is about the stability, the community, and the support we have worked so hard to build. Moving forward with this decision will lead you to lose the trust of the people you are supposed to serve, the students. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Jacqueline Gonzalez.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Gonzalez, and I am a student at the Academy of Health Science Professions in STEM. I am here today as a representative of countless others who aren't able to speak out today about the proposed merger. This merger threatens to uproot our education and disrupt our lives beyond a simple logistical change. For students, this means losing the sense of community we built at our respective campuses. It means being packed into classrooms where teachers will struggle to provide the same level of attention and support we've come to depend on in our respective campuses. For many of us, our campuses are more than schools. They're second homes, safe spaces, and where we found our voices and identities. Taking that away creates confusion, instability, and uncertainty. The teachers who have mentored us, guided us, and inspired us are now facing the threat of losing their jobs. How can a district claim to prioritize the education and excellence of its students when it sacrifices the very individuals who make learning possible? This isn't just about saving money. It impacts the future of every student, teacher, and staff. Our parents made sacrifices to give us the opportunities they never had, leaving behind their own dreams so we could pursue ours. This merger threatens not just our education, but the legacy of those sacrifices. You need to ask yourselves, is this merger about improving education, or is it about cutting costs at the expense of the students? The chaos this proposal has caused so far is proof that it's not the solution. The proposal threatens to divide us and weaken the foundation of our community. Decisions like these shouldn't be made without our input. We are the ones who have to live with them every day. We deserve to be heard. If the goal is to truly serve the best interests of the community, then don't leave us in the dark. We urge you to reconsider this proposal and step back to genuinely listen to the voices of students and teachers. Engage with us in the process. Let's work together to find a solution that doesn't compromise the education and well-being of an entire district. Because when the community of La Joya is silenced and ignored, we will fight back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Secretary Peña, do we have any others that have signed up for public comment?
We do. If we can have Ms. Norma Martinez make your way to the podium, please.
Good evening, members of the board and everyone present. I stand before you today as a furious parent of a brilliant daughter at Thelma Salinas Early College. I am here to demand that you reconsider the reckless decision to close her school. This is not just a budgetary issue, it's about the future of our children. And we are not going to let this happen without a fight. Let's get straight to the point. You were appointed to serve the best interests of our students, yet your actions are proving otherwise. You talk about balancing budgets, but what about the mental health and well-being of our kids? The stress and anxiety that will come from uprooting them from their school will have a devastating impact. This isn't just numbers or on a spreadsheet. These are real lives at stake. As a taxpayer, I oppose this takeover because I knew it would silence our voices. You've come in from outside the community with a new cabinet that cost over $1 million. That money could and should be spent on keeping our schools open, supporting our teachers, and investing in our students, not paddling the pockets of a disconnected administration that doesn't understand our needs. You claim to be here for our students, yet you're dismantling their education. La Joya ISD has a history of a strong academic performance, but your agenda seems focused on bringing in a new curriculum that serves your interests, not ours. You are not La Joya. You are from places like Chicago and Austin, and you are out of touch with our community. I implore you to reconsider your decision. Don't let your misguided priorities lead to the closure of a school where my daughter and her classmates are thriving. This is not a plea, it's a demand. We will not accept decisions that jeopardize our children's future for the sake of balancing a budget. I will continue to fight for my daughter and her classmates, even if it means taking our voices to the state capitol. We deserve to be heard and will not back down until you listen. Stand with us, not against us. Reconsider the closure of Thelma Salinas Early College. Our children deserve better and will not let you forget it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Peña. Do we have any others that have signed up for public comment?
Yes, if we can have Ms. Brenda Lee Salinas make your way to the podium, please.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Sorensen, esteemed community members, and viewers joining from home. As a proud president of La Joya FT, I affirm my commitment to supporting our members. La Joya FT is dedicated to implementing policies that protect our members' rights and ensure my members and I receive value for our contributions. This meeting is a perfect time to talk about how I address our members' concerns, issues, and questions behind the scenes. And tonight, I would like to express my gratitude publicly to Dr. Sorensen and her cabinet team. Dr. Sorensen and her cabinet team have shown remarkably dedication to addressing various issues. They consistently respond promptly to my emails, phone calls, and we have professional discussions. Additionally, our productive monthly meetings, frequently held outside regular hours, highlight their commitment to maintaining open communication about the concerns, issues, and questions our members have. This collaboration is not just important, it is essential that we move forward to effectively address critical matters and reinforce our pledge to our members. We have built a respected partnership with Dr. Sorensen and her cabinet and are committed to supporting our members. While we may not always agree, we understand the importance of following established policies. And La Joya AFT, is dedicated to implementing policies that protect our members' rights and ensure that are respected and heard, and that's also La Joya ISD. Our district faced corruption that led to a TA takeover. Fully backed by the community, we reached out for help and we were heard. We must focus on the best outcome for our students who require support to thrive. And our dedication and commitment to our union members who deserve a long-deserving overdue salary increase. Both parties acknowledge the necessary and the need of this pay raise increase. And I am optimistic that with the leadership of Dr. Sorensen and her cabinet members and the support of the board of managers, we can collaboratively achieve this goal. Due to a challenging school year, our members are experiencing extreme growing pains. We ask for continued support to subside these growing pains that our members are enduring. So Dr. Sorensen, our monthly meetings you have listened, the cabinet members have listened, and we will have another monthly meeting in January. We will ask our La Jolla FT members to show up, give their input, so that you can listen to them, to listen to their concerns. So we're looking forward to that. So my union brothers and sisters, fear of retaliation is a thing of the past. Please let it rest. Don't fear. It's time for your voice to be heard as we work together to rebuild our district. And in conclusion, I believe you have the flyer. Mr. President and Board of Managers, the La Jolla AFT family strongly urges you to pass a resolution supporting the Educators' Bill of Rights at your upcoming board meeting in January. In 2025, we'll present our Educators' Bill of Rights to the 89th legislature, expecting all lawmakers who support public schools to sign and pass legislation that ensures educators have the right to fair working conditions, competitive wages, secure retirement plans, safe, health, working environments. These factors are just a few, and they are essential for the well-being and effectiveness in teaching. Together, we have the power to make a difference. La Jolla FT, Executive Board, and family wishes everyone a joyful, blessed Christmas and a wonderful New Year. Thank you. This is Brenda Lee Salinas, proud President of La Jolla FT.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Secretary Pena, do we have any others that have signed up for public comment?
We do not have any more public comments.
Okay, again, I want to thank all of those that did provide us with public comments tonight. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. The public hearing on the La Jolla Independent School District's Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas will be discussed next, better known as FIRST. The time is 6:18 p.m. Ms. Crespo.
Good evening, Mr. Alvarez, Dr. Sorensen, members of the board. I'm here to present the first report for the fiscal year ending on 2023. The first is the Financial Integrity Rating System. This is a report that is in compliance with the requirements by the Texas Education Agency and is required to be presented to the public within 60 days of the TEA publishing the district rating. The purpose of the School Financial Integrity System of Texas is to assess all the districts in the state through the compliance of different documents and keep the districts accountable for the quality of the financial management practices. The state goals for this report are to facilitate effective and efficient use of resources and strengthen fiscal accountability. It has several objectives that are expected for the districts to be in compliance through the state. How these ratings are assessed. The district rating is determined by the applicable number of points earned over 21 indicators. These indicators are delineated in documents submitted that we have to submit to the state, and they give us different points average, which give us those four ratings that you are seeing in there, A, B, C, and F. Those indicators can change by year, and the expectations of the compliance can be changed year by year. Inside those 21 indicators, there are 5 indicators that are called ceiling indicators that are required to prioritize through the requirements. You see the examples in there: timely payments, property values, submissions of PIMS, etc. Next, I'm going to show you, we are going to post this presentation as required for compliance in our website, where you are going to be able to examine all the details. We are required to submit and provide to the public 2 years comparison. Some of these indicators have non-applicable 1 year or the other, as I said before, because they can change between year to years based on TEA requirements. You can see, as I said before, you can see these requirements, these indicators, details, and all the information required to be public in our website. With this also has to be accompanied with other required disclosures. These disclosures must be also distributed annually. The disclosures are the superintendent's contract for the year that we are evaluating, reimbursement received by superintendent and board members, compensation fees received by the superintendent from another school district or outside entity, gifts received by the superintendent and board members that have an economic value of $250 or more, and disclosure 5, business transaction between a school district and board members. As I said before, these are requirements that have to be posted on the website and will be shortly as soon as we finish the hearing. Finally, I want to say that this evaluation of these compliance items have give us a final result of 98 points, which is equal as A rating. We are here now opening for any comments or questions.
Members of the board, do we have any questions for Ms. Crespo at this time? Thank you.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead.
So just if I'm understanding correctly, this rating is based on kind of certifying that we submitted the information that we needed to in the form that we needed to, correct? In the forms that we needed to, as opposed to validating the integrity of the data. Is that a fair assessment?
That's correct. This includes compliance on when we do the audit and if we do it inside the timely manner, when we submit documents and present it to the board on a timely manner, if we submit to TEA documentation in a timely manner, with inside the parameters specified.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Pena. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Crespo?
Board President, I also do want to note that what you'll see from us in January, we'll be bringing an item, is that we are going to do a financial audit of past practices around controls and processes so that we can ensure that past practices around spending, around contracts, around procurement, when we think about waste, fraud, integrity, things that you're bringing up. Also, as we look at retrospective spending, these items are compliance items. We want to be sure that past spending practices and that our controls around procurement are also in alignment with an A rating. And so we'll be bringing an item to you guys as a board to have an audit of past financial practices so that moving forward, we protect ourselves and also have good practices for ourselves as a district so that we can make sure that ourselves as a board are doing the right thing around financial and fiscal responsibility.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Would you like to add anything else, Dr. Crespo? Regarding this particular? Okay, before we move forward, it is important, since this was a public hearing, if there's anyone that would like to provide any comments regarding the report that you just heard, you're certainly welcome to do so. If you do so, remember that you do have 3 minutes, and we will inform you after 3 minutes that your time is up. We will give you some time if anyone would like to provide any remarks regarding the report that was just presented. Okay, seeing that we have no one that signed up or would like to proceed with any remarks regarding the presentation, it is 6:24, and I am closing the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Sorensen.
Thank you very much, President Alvarez. Our first report is, speaking of audits, I am inviting Ms. Crespo up. So we did have a financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2024. So Ms. Crespo, I will turn it over to you. We do have some external auditors here to present some findings for our last school year. So Ms. Crespo, if you want to introduce our guests to present some external audit findings for us, that would be great.
Thank you, ma'am. And yes, I'm presenting Ms. Esmeralda Igueñez and Carla Gomez. They are representing the external auditors that did their financial report for annual comprehensive audit.
Thank you, Ms. Crespo. Good evening. As Ms. Crespo mentioned, we're representing Carriggs and Ingram, and we are the external auditors conducting the financial audit of the district's fiscal period for the year ending June 30, 2024. I'm the partner on the engagement, and Carla Gomez here is the manager that led the team. So we're representing the entire team that audited the financial records of the school district. We concluded the audit last month, and well, I just want to say, why does the district require the audit? So we start by doing that, right? Obviously, it's a TA requirement that every district performs a financial audit. It's also required by various granting agencies. The district does obtain a lot of granting from federal and state agencies. Lastly, it's a vehicle for fiscal transparency, right, to all the stakeholders, the board of managers, the taxpayers, the employees, and other interested parties. There's a regular annual financial report, and then there's the annual comprehensive financial report, which is what La Joya ISD has put together in prior years. This was not the exception this year. The difference between the two is that the annual comprehensive report provides a lot more historical perspective and additional information other than the financial statements themselves. And these qualifies the district to participate in Government Finance Officers Association, and they did receive the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for last fiscal year ending June 30, 2023. So that certificate is included within the report, and what is required there is, again, the different sections of the report itself, that it's presented per GASB pronouncements. So part of our procedures is to look over that checklist, and we're pretty comfortable to say that they qualify again to be able to participate for their fiscal year ending in 2024. As of last month, with us providing the opinion, the district is in compliance with that requirement. We're pleased to report that the district's financial statements that are subject to audit included the governmental activities, obviously. At the fund level, it includes the general fund. The ESSER 3 was a major fund this year, and then the remaining funds are aggregate funds. So we do assess them differently based on different materiality levels. So collectively, we're able to render an opinion, which is a non-modified opinion, which is the best type of opinion that's available for the procedure that we're doing. So in our opinion, the district's basic financial statements presented fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the district as of June 30, 2024, and the respective changes in financial position for the year that ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. No audit areas where an opinion could not be rendered were encountered as a result of our procedures. There is an emphasis of matter paragraph that's included in the audit report, pointing the reader that there were change in accounting estimates during the year, and there were error corrections related to prior period beginning balances. So those have been included or adjusted by the district in the current year, so those are presented there. We also have a note disclosure that describes those in detail. So at this time, I'm going to pass it on to Carla, who's going to walk us through the highlights of the financial statements themselves.
Okay, so we're going to start with the statement of net position, which includes the governmental activities of the district as of the year end 2024. This statement includes the capital asset, the long term, including also pension and other post-employment benefits balances. So it includes everything. So in here, you can see that total assets as of the year ending 2024 were $613,325,795. Deferred outflows were $93,737,220. Total liabilities were $470,545,804. Deferred inflows total $117,710,333. And the total net position as of the end of the year were $118,806,878. If you see here, we have a comparison to prior year. The biggest variances were noted on the deferred outflow and the deferred inflows. These were mainly for changes that were on the other post-employment benefits or PEP balances that were required by the district to record. So those were the biggest variances that you will see on that statement. Then we're going to go through the general fund budgetary comparison. This statement, it's included on the financial statements, and this statement includes the revenues and expenditures that happened during the year. The first two columns, it's the revenues. You can see the first one is the budgeted revenue by the district, which totaled $298,307,545, compared to the actual revenues that were $299,266,413, a little bit over. So your actual revenues were a little bit over than the district was budgeting. The next two columns are the expenses of the district. You can see that the district had budgeted $315,292,109. At the end, total expenses, including transfers to other funds, from the general funds to other funds, were $297,453,299. So it was completely below of what you were budgeting for the current year. The next statement is going to be the balance sheet, again for the general fund. In here, we have a comparison of last year compared to this year, and I'm just going to highlight the balances of current year. Total assets of the district as of 2024 were $182,768,599. Total liabilities and deferred inflows of resources were $51,248,086. And total fund balance of $131,520,513. Now, this fund balance may include some restricted balances as per federal and state programs. It may include non-expendable fund balances as required to put it in a separate line item. It also includes some assigned fund balance and other committed fund balance. The rest is your unassigned fund balance. And you can see here that the total fund balance at the end of the year were $109,114,673. This unassigned fund balance may cover almost a little bit more than 4 months of your regular or average expenditures. And basically it's like we kind of like come up with the average of expenditures per month based on your current year total expenditures, and we calculate that you had a healthy fund balance, unassigned fund balance, that will cover at least for 4 months. I think those are the highlights on the financials.
Thank you, Carla. So I just do want to point out that to get to those numbers, there were a few proposed adjustments that were provided and accepted by management, so the financials have been fairly stated. So in addition to the financial statement audit itself, we are also required to audit the federal awards that the district receives, so we conduct a separate single audit for those. As of June 30, 2024, the district received a total of 105 million in federal awards. Out of that, there are major programs that are selected for testing. So based on our procedures, we arrived at the child nutrition cluster. We determined that needed to be audited. That was total expenditures of 17.1 million, as well as the child and adult care food program with 1.4 million. By the way, we do have page numbers there. If you do have the ACFR in front of you, that's where you can find the detailed schedules. So as a result of the single audit, we do issue 2 additional letters in the report. The first one is the report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. This is related to internal controls over financial statements as a whole. So we are rendering an unmodified opinion, and we did not note any material weaknesses, but we did note some significant deficiencies in internal controls over financial reporting and no non-compliance material to the financial statements. For the federal awards, those specific programs tested, we're also rendering a non-modified opinion, and we did not note any material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no non-compliance related to those programs. So in addition to the report, we also provided a packet called Required Communications. So in there you will find various sections that are for internal management. It does list the auditor's responsibility, management's responsibilities. It describes the judgments and sensitive estimates that are taken into account when determining the balances. There's also a management communication letter, as well as the proposed adjustments that were provided to the district and any past adjustments. We did meet with the finance team and discuss all of the observations in detail on November 13th. And that concludes our presentation. We can address any questions that the board might have.
Members of the board, do we have any questions for our auditors at this time?
I have a question. On page 24, where you say there was 2 significant deficiencies, can you go over what those deficiencies were? I don't think it was really touched on.
On page 24?
Yeah, you said there
of
were...
the slides?
Slide 24.
Slide 24. Yeah. You said there was 2 significant deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting noted. What were those significant deficiencies?
Okay. So if you have the ACFR, the report, it is described on page, give me 1 second. On page 184 of the annual comprehensive financial report.
I don't think we have it in front of us.
You don't have the report in front of you?
Not in front of us.
Okay, no problem. I can read it for you. So the first item was related to beginning fund balance and net position. Several misstatements were noted related to prior year transactions. An error was identified in the reconciliation of state foundation revenues. Receivables from school health and related services should have been deferred until related revenues are available. Custodial funds reflected a due to balance that should have been adjusted upon implementation of GASB 84. The combination of these errors required adjustments to general fund, debt service fund, and custodial fund balances of $548,365, $407,238, and $609,198 respectively for each of those areas, those balances.
In layman terms, are you saying then that money was moved that shouldn't have been moved, or?
Excuse me?
In simpler terms, are you saying that money was moved that shouldn't have been moved, or wasn't appropriately moved, or?
The balances were misstated, were not.
They weren't properly accounted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So some of those were also like changing on estimates, or there were some corrections, errors of corrections that the district had that find out this year, and they had to correct the beginning fund balance this year, and that's why, there was those adjustments proposed, And we had to, because of the amounts that are material for our purposes, we had to say that it was a significant deficiency.
Right.
Right. So some of the information wasn't really available in the prior year. However, once we start the audit and we're provided the trial balance, our assumption is that everything has been adjusted for the current year with the new information available. So that's some of the items were related to that they were not adjusted for the new information.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. That was one of the significant deficiencies. The other item that was related to year-end accruals and construction in progress. There was one invoice related to a construction in progress project that was received and recorded subsequent to year-end. However, the expense was incurred during the year under audit. In addition, retainage payable was not recorded for projects in progress at year-end. As a result, liabilities were misstated by $685,573.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Members of the board, do we have any other questions for our auditors? Thank you for such a detailed and informative presentation. So thank you to both of you.
Our pleasure. No, thank you to the finance team for all their support and cooperation throughout the process.
Great, thank you. Thanks everyone involved. Next item on the agenda, 7.2, is special education staff leveling and realignment process. Dr. Little and Ms. Miller.
I just want to remind people that it was from last year.
Before you proceed, I did ask Dr. Sorensen, I failed to ask her if there was anything that she would like to add to the presentation that was just heard by our auditors, and I agree with her that we have something that we'd like to share.
I always think it's just important to remind people that that was an audit of last fiscal year, and we are always continuing to strive to improve, our processes, which again is why we're bringing a full audit agenda item to the board, so that we can continue to grow and improve on our processes. And thank you, Vice President Chavez, for also bringing up around internal controls, because that is one of the areas that we continue to want to get better at, and whether that be in procurement or how we spend our money or how we monitor how we spend our money. I do want to acknowledge the team, though, in terms of how they work. They're incredibly diligent in how they monitor and manage our money. They are looking at every dollar and where it goes and how it is spent. We just spent quite a bit of time today in a budgeting meeting, but how we refine our processes is incredibly important moving forward. So really want to commend the team for digging in and looking at how we get better moving forward, so that we're not only moving forward with integrity, but that we are fiscally responsible, so that we can maximize every dollar and make sure that it's getting back to kids in the classroom, and that we can support our employees moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Dr. Little, Ms. Miller, you may proceed.
Good evening, President Alvarez, members of the board, and Dr. Sorensen. Tonight we have the opportunity to look at the special education staff leveling and realigning process. So why are we looking at this presentation? We recognize that special education is a topic of concern within our community, our schools, and among our parents. We understand the importance of ensuring that every student receives the supports that they need, and we want to be transparent about the decisions that are being made. This presentation gives us the opportunity to not only share the why, but the process that's based on board policy, and also to demonstrate how we are prioritizing the needs of our students while balancing our resources effectively. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Little, who will discuss the systematic and focused process that we used.
Thank you, Chief Miller. Good evening, everyone. Before we get to the leveling specifics in the presentation, we also wanted to take a moment just to give a broader update and context on where we are in the work to improve special education. We're asking for your consideration later in the agenda to approve a partner to come in and conduct a thorough audit of our special education work. We've alluded to that and talked about that for the past few months. Now is the time to get that started with your approval tonight. And we know that we have a lot to learn about how to get better in this space. We have not, however, been waiting for that audit to occur to start the transformation needed. As we've shared in academic data presentations with you over the last few months, we have a significant amount of work to do to improve outcomes for our students in special education. Part of what we've really been focused on that does connect to how we handle leveling for staff is making sure that we have real clarity on where our students are and how they're being served. So being crystal clear on how many special education students are at each campus and in what type of classroom setting. Going deeper than that to really clarify the types of settings that we have available in La Jolla ISD. So yes, we will always have students who need very specialized classroom environments that are much smaller and much tailored to their needs. But most of our students should be in the general education classroom with their peers, focused on grade level instruction. And so part of what we've been working internally within the special education team to do is to clarify that continuum of services and start the analysis student by student to make sure that we have properly placed and are properly serving our students to give them the best opportunity for success. This starts with how we initially identify students for special education. When a teacher, a counselor, a parent, or somebody else raises a concern, hey, I think Derek may need some extra help, we then do an evaluation on that student, and that's done by our educational diagnosticians and school psychologists. We have realized that we needed to go back with them and make sure they are up to date and fully trained on how to do those evaluations really well, thoroughly and comprehensively, and aligned to ultimately ensure students are getting services they need to meet their educational requirements. So we are partnering with Region 1 to do an evaluations academy with that staff. We've now done 2 of 5 sessions to help in that regard. I mentioned that we're looking student by student at each of these IEPs or individualized education plans that students in special education have. That's helping us understand where we may need to make adjustments in those students' placement or services to ensure that they're in the right place and getting the right support. Those adjustments happen through collaborative meetings. We call them ARDs, that stands for Admission, Review, and Dismissal. And in those meetings, the family is represented, the special education staff is represented, and the school staff is represented. And they work collaboratively to decide what is the best set of services for each student. We expect to learn even more from the audit that we're going to conduct, but we wanted to set the context tonight as we think about realigning our staff. Part of that depends on all of these things being in place and being correct. So we've begun that transformation process and we'll continue it. And we wanted to share that context for the rest of our discussion, which Chief Miller will come back for now and really get into the specifics about our realignment right now.
Once we determined and identified that we needed staffing adjustments, we always turn to policy DFFB to determine and apply criteria in the realignment process of our teachers and our paraprofessionals. So in looking at policy DFFB, we first ask for volunteers. Volunteers have to come from specific grade levels, courses, and position types, and they must meet the requirements of the position that they're going to move to. If we do not have volunteers, then we do look at the following criteria: the qualifications for the current or projected assignment, extra duties, professional background, and seniority. You may remember this criteria because we showed it to you when we did a leveling presentation earlier in the year. And you're going to see this criteria again because we use policy and we always refer back to policy in order to realign anyone in the district. In looking at our paraprofessionals, we also asked for volunteers, again, looking at specific grades, courses, and position types. And then, if we did not have volunteers, we looked at seniority. So after applying this criteria and looking at our analysis of where we needed staffing adjustments, here where we landed on positions that will be realigned. For certified teachers, we have 6 teachers. We have one that will go from Juarez Lincoln High School to La Jolla High School. Or 3 that are moving from Juarez Lincoln High School to La Jolla High School. At Palmview High School, we have 1 teacher who will be going to La Jolla Early College High School. At Palmview High School, we have 1 that will be going to HSSP. And then again at Palmview High School, we have 1 that will be moving within the campus. So they may be in one certain position, but we're moving them to another one. So they may be in an inclusion classroom and they're going to a unit or vice versa. In paraprofessionals, we do have 20 that are realigning. So they come from various campuses, but 10 of those are realigning within their campus. So again, they're moving from one specific position to another one within the same school building. And then we have 10 that will be moving across new campuses. So based on our analysis and doing this, we want to ensure that we have our next steps and we know exactly how we're going to move forward. Our first phase is we are making these staffing adjustments and we are notifying the staff that will be realigned. We are doing this strategically, calling people down, the affected staff, this week. We want to honor that this is a change. It is hard, and we want people to have time to process. We want them to have time to pack their things, and we want to honor that they've built relationships on their campus with their colleagues and with their students. So we are asking that the realignment starts on January 6th to give people time to process this and to make arrangements. The next phase is we heard Dr. Little talk about a special education audit that is going to dive deeper into our special education program. We also, in phase 3, are going to continue to have a monitor and feedback loops through the end of this year and to continue forward. So if we look at cost avoidance, by doing this leveling process and by by making sure that our people are where they need to be to serve our students and that our students have their services, and by not posting new positions, we saved $1,028,080. I want to make it very clear, we did not close any special education positions. This was because we are being responsible with our resources and placing employees in the appropriate roles and not posting new positions. No positions are being closed or eliminated. So we are being efficient with the use of our personnel, and that helps us to be efficient with our resources. Thank you for your attention and for supporting us through this process. Do you have any questions?
Members of the board, do we have any questions for Ms. Miller or Dr. Little?
I have a question, if you
Yes, ma'am.
For the 6 teachers and 20 paraprofessionals that are going to be moved, have we had any volunteers yet for those?
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Any volunteers yet?
We did not have volunteers this time around. We have applied the criteria, and we have begun the process of calling every staff member in and speaking with them about this change, this realignment.
Members?
Do we still have any additional needs, or has everything been met with the changes that are in place?
Well, we are constantly monitoring and getting feedback. Right now, we're doing well, but like I said, we're monitoring and making sure that if a need arises, then we will cover that need or take action at that time.
For the paraprofessionals that are going to be switching roles, can you give us an example of where they were and what role they could be switching out to?
So they may be in an inclusion classroom where they're in a general education classroom helping students within that classroom, and now they may be in a unit helping students within the unit.
Thank you.
Members of the board, any additional questions?
One more question, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Ms. Miller, thank you. But the staffing adjustments and notification will begin December 9th, which I guess they've started already.
Yes, sir.
But beyond January 6th, will it be continue to transition that
So
process?
they will be transitioning this week and next week, and they will start at their new campuses on January 6th, or in their new positions.
But it will continue beyond January 6th?
Oh, yes, sir. So they'll be in those positions for the rest of the year. Yes, sir. And then again, we will have monitoring and feedback loops to make adjustments if needed.
Thanks.
Dr. Sorensen?
Dr. Little, if you could possibly, though, explain why this may feel like a shift in practice across the district as we think through special education and what one of our goals is around high-quality instruction and meeting special education needs of students across the district as we prioritize student outcomes in special education.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, when we started this process, we had to actually take a few steps back to really understand what exists in our system right now and ensure that we know better how our students have been placed and how they need to be placed moving forward. Part of that analysis revealed some other things to us. You heard Ms. Miller mention that we may be moving somebody from an inclusion classroom to a unit classroom or what we would call a self-contained classroom. There has historically been a practice that when students show up, particularly in those self-contained classrooms, that schools ask for additional resources and support. So you may have 10 students in a classroom that would typically have 2, maybe 3 adults in there, but we found instances where there could be 4 or 5 adults in the classroom. And those extra adults are not part of the actual service provision for those students. They're really just responding to concerns and requests from the other teachers and staff in the room. So we are having to have very critical and direct conversations with our educators and with our leaders to remember that a special education classroom is already designed to service the needs of students with special needs. That's why there are fewer children in the classroom. That's why we already have lower ratios. So we may be starting out at a 1-to-5 or a 1-to-4 or a 1-to-6 ratio because we're anticipating that students in those places have additional needs. So that's part of the adjustments here. That's part of why you see so many paraprofessionals moving, is because typically if we have added people in those classrooms, it has been a paraprofessional, not a teacher. And so we are leveling those out to make sure that we've got the right coverage in every type of setting. And we're balancing out caseloads. We actually didn't talk much about that, but in a special education context, it's not only how many students is the teacher teaching in his or her classroom, but how many students do they have as a caseload when it comes to those IEP reviews and those family meetings. And so we want to get both of those in the proper balance. The audit's going to reveal more of this, most likely, and so that adjustment will continue to take place throughout the spring and into the summer.
Thank you, Dr. Little.
Thank you both. Before I dismiss you, or Dr. Verona, you got another presentation. Ms. Miller, I appreciate the fact that you reiterated and you just stated twice that no positions would be eliminated or closed. So that's important for those that are viewing and those in the audience, and of course to our board members, that none of those positions are going to be eliminated from this fine district of ours. So thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Little. If you could proceed. This one is Systems of Great Schools, Restart Proposal, Accelerating Campus Excellence, also known as ACE, at targeted elementary schools. Dr. Little?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, and good evening again, everyone. We want to continue our conversation on what it's going to take for La Jolla ISD to truly have a system of great schools in the district and in our path back to our vision. So that's really how this is situated tonight as we make a proposal for next school year at specific elementary schools. As I just mentioned, we are completely committed and on a path to ensuring educational excellence truly is the experience and the outcome of every student in the district. And as we pursue that, we continue to think about what does it take for us to guarantee that every student in the district has a high quality best fit seat and is participating in a high quality best fit school. We've talked a lot about this work and we wanted to sort of paint a bigger picture to get started with tonight's conversation. So this essentially lays out a roadmap for us in our pursuit of having great schools across the board in La Jolla ISD. This year, we've done a lot of work thus far in the fall with you as the board and the community to build the right governance structure and focus on what outcomes we're pursuing with our goals, constraints, and the progress measures that go along with that. We shared a few meetings ago the state of the district or the quality schools analysis, and we're out now doing community meetings sharing that with others to really understand and clarify, here's where La Jolla ISD is on a range of outcomes, academic, financial discipline, HR, and others. And I've had the good pleasure of talking to you a lot about our instructional work this year, really focusing on grade level instruction, having the right resources and materials in place, and launching our two-way dual language program. As we think about next year and into the future, we're going to continue that focus on instruction. We're going to continue to build out that dual language program. And we've also started to talk about other things that are coming. Last meeting, we talked about our early college high school consolidation recommendation. The superintendent is out and has started stakeholder engagement meetings related to strategic plan development, which is going to guide our work for years to come. Tonight, the part of this picture that we're really focused on are these ACE restarts. I want to say this now and I'll say it again later to not be confusing. ACE here has nothing to do with our after-school partnership with ACE. Unfortunately, we have the same acronyms in this case, so I don't want anybody to think that we're talking about our after-school partner or after-school programming. That'll become more evident as we go along, but just wanted to clarify that for the outset. The other things that you see in 26-27 and then in 27-28 are really stemming from what comes in the strategic plan. We don't know what programming we may need to pursue as a result of that. We also expect to do a deep look at our facilities and are not sure yet what that may lead us to do. But this really is meant to give folks perspective on these are the things we're pursuing in service of our vision and in service of becoming an A-rated school system. So to dig in tonight for the specific proposal around ACE restarts at campus. First thing I'll say is ACE stands for Accelerated Campus Excellence. This is a campus turnaround model that we will unpack for you as we go. And we're going to start with a couple of reminders. In the quality school analysis and that state of the district, we shared a lot of data. One of the data points was this slide where we looked at how elementary schools had done last year on STAR, and these are ranked from lowest performing to highest performing in the district. We made a point in that presentation to say there's a 30 percentage point difference from our lowest achieving school to our highest achieving school. And we said that really provides an urgent call to action. Tonight is about responding to that call to action. We are going to specifically look at the 4 schools you see in that box. So that's Garza, Seguin, Zapata, and Pena, and we'll talk further about that. Here's a look specifically at those 4 schools and how they did last school year. On the left, we see their reading results. On the right, we see their math results. Again, this comes from STAR, so it's all grade levels 3, 4, and 5. And then those lines represent the region and the state averages. What we see across the board is that these schools are well below the regional and state averages, and in some cases up to 20 percentage points below. So again, that urgent call to action, how do we do better for the students in these schools, is what we are pursuing. We also, in the quality schools analysis, shared this slide, which helps show the distribution of ratings and achievement across the district, and that we did have those 4 D and F rated campuses. Pena has an asterisk here that I'm going to explain in more detail in just a second, but we do want to call out that even though it is in that DF box, it is a little bit different in terms of the 4 schools, and I'll explain that more in just a second. But we do know that we've got to respond to the fact that we can't have schools going backwards, certainly not significantly backwards over time. So what we are specifically going to look at, and I'll explain the sort of Pena asterisks now, is what we have to do to no longer have students sitting in low-performing schools. We do not want any student in a D or F-rated school in La Jolla ISD. If we look at Pena to help explain this slide and help explain the proposal, which I'll share in just a second, we can notice a few things. So the first column here is their final letter grade or final score, accountability score for last year. So Pena here is sitting at a 69. The thing to call out is that is due entirely to specific rules in the Texas accountability system. Pena would have actually earned a score that would have made them a C-rated school, just mathematically based on how they did. They're forced to be a 69 because if we look at the rest of the columns, 3 of those columns are 69 or below. So the state says if you've got 3 areas in your accountability or 3 domains that are D-rated or lower, you have to be a D-rated or lower school overall. We do not believe, based on what we see and based on the fact that they would have earned a C otherwise, that that accurately represents where Pena is or its potential to continue to improve. So I wanted to say that from the outset because the entire rest of our conversation is going to focus on the other 3 schools, Garza, Seguin, and Zapata. That doesn't mean that we aren't working intensively with Pena and its leader and its staff, nor that we are going to keep monitoring it closely, because we are, but it is not included in tonight's recommendation because of those reasons that I just laid out. So what are we recommending? That is to do 2 things. It is to completely restart with the ACE model at Garza and Seguin. It also includes a recommendation to close Zapata Elementary. We will give further clarification on why as we go through the rest of this presentation, but this gives us the chance to change this map to make sure that that's not relegated to D and F rated schools and opportunities for families, but that we can quickly turn those into high-performing opportunities that are A or B rated schools and really better meet the needs of the students in those locations. We also need to explain to you and the community what ACE is. Again, this is Accelerating Campus Excellence. It is a campus turnaround model. It is not something that we went into a room and created in La Jolla ISD. This is something that we have research and evidence on, including in many places in Texas, and so I want to share that with you now. The first thing for us to note is what ACE is trying to achieve. The ultimate goal here is rapid school improvement, that we need to take low-performing schools and turn them into high-performing schools as quickly as possible, because that's what our students need and that's what they deserve. So we should see that in quick growth at the student level. So we talked about MAP. If I gave you future MAP presentations at these schools, you would see really rapid growth at the student level, and in turn at the classroom and campus level as well. The other thing that's important here is learning what we can then put in place in other campuses. That does not mean every school becomes an A school. It does not, and we don't want people thinking that. But as we learn best practices and as we learn things that we can scale, again, we need every school to ultimately improve across the board. If we go back to that first data slide that I showed, yes, we had that 30-point gap, but we still didn't have any elementary school above 60%. So we're still on the path for improvement across the whole district. This is just a super targeted approach at the schools that need it the most. I want to spend a few minutes really going a bit deeper into the ACE model to talk about the components of what this is. The first 2 relate to leadership and instruction. And the bedrock of ACE and the most important thing that we do every day is put high-quality educators in front of students. So we will not be successful with this turnaround if we do not ensure that we have our highest quality leaders and our highest quality teachers and support staff working at these schools moving forward. So I do want to clarify, these restarts at Garza and Seguin are a full staff reconstitution. All of these positions then become open for people to apply for, so we can ensure we have the best fully committed people in place. You're going to understand that fully committed part as I talk through the other components, because there are extra expectations here beyond what it means to work at just a general neighborhood elementary school. However, we provide really good financial incentives for people to want to work here and to help stay as well. So these do come with pretty substantive financial stipends, both to recognize the extra commitment that they have to make and ensure that we're recruiting our best educators into these places. The other bedrock here is instructional excellence. We have talked a lot about that throughout the fall, and we will continue to talk about it, making sure that we are providing the best Tier 1 on-grade level instruction every day, that we're responding to student needs as they arise, and that we have a super high expectation of our students and of campus culture. Students in 7 Mile Line absolutely can be the best students in La Jolla ISD and in Texas. And we've got to create a culture starting with the first day of school, now and into next school year with this restart, to make sure that they and their families believe that, and they know we believe that too, and we're pouring that into them every day. The other three components of the ACE model really relate to how we provide wraparound, more holistic supports to the student. Academic focus and academic growth absolutely continue to be paramount and priority for us, but supporting the whole child matters too. The first thing to note is what that looks like in terms of time of day. The ACE model does come with more time in the school day. So these school days will be extended by 1 hour every day. So part of that extra commitment of teachers and staff is you're going to be there longer every day because now your school day is longer to give students more opportunity for instruction and support. We will also extend the whole time that the campus is open and available for students in the community. So these campuses would stay open and would be thriving and vibrant to 6 p.m. every day, both for extracurricular and extra academic supports. But to the bottom thing I'll talk about in a second, ways that we can support those families and adults too. The more this becomes a two-generational approach, the more impactful it can be for that school community. As we said, we want to serve and support the whole child, so really ensuring that we've got strong social, emotional, and mental health supports in place for students in these contexts matters a lot. We do see in data from ACE models that we have reductions in discipline and suspensions as well, so students are in school more often participating in what they need to do academically. And then key to all of this is the relationship with parents and the community, both to build trust in the individual schools, to build that culture and partnership, and for us to be responsive to their needs. So as we need to recruit or cultivate new partnerships to the school to help respond to those identified needs and requests, we will certainly do that as part of this ACE model. All of that gives you a sense that these schools will be treated a bit differently by design. Like we are pouring extra resources and investment into those schools. So we wanted to give you a sense of financially what that could look like. This is not real La Jolla ISD data because we have not done this yet. This is an example from what we see across the state. That on average, ACE is about a $1,300 additional investment per student into these campuses. On top of what we're already spending and investing, we will expect roughly another $1,300. The vast majority of that additional investment comes from those financial supports and incentives for the staff. So those stipends, as they add up, that really becomes the bulk of the additional investment, but not the only thing. Again, we're going to provide extra training, professional learning opportunities. We will support through more mentoring and coaching as needed, both for leaders and teachers. And as we think about those extracurricular and extended day opportunities in the climate of the school, that may require additional resources as well. The other thing I want to say before we look at the impact of ACE is this is a 3-year commitment. So we as a district would be making a 3-year commitment to these schools to keep all of these additional investments in place for that 3-year period. And as we are recruiting leaders and staff to come into the campus, we would ask them to do the same, to be in it for the full 3-year journey. So I told you we're not making this up. We have learned from other people about how this works, and I want to share a little bit of that data with you. First, showing you that this is getting pretty widespread across the state of Texas. It's also based on national research ultimately, but has been in place in multiple districts in Texas, more than 15, or roughly 15 districts in the state. More than 50 campuses in the state of Texas are now pursuing or have gone through an ACE turnaround and have done quite well. In fact, they do exactly what's expected. They take D and F rated schools and typically within 2 years turn them into A or B rated schools. And that's part of what we have to do to live up to that commitment for educational excellence. And this is the exact type of result that we would expect from our work over the next 2 to 3 years. Part of that means that you and the community will be able to see that growth. So as we do future academic presentations or do goal progress monitoring, you will see that these schools should be outpacing their peers. We should see higher and faster growth at these locations than we're seeing in other places due to the additional sort of focus and support that we have in place. And we should see that pretty quickly. It won't take an entire school year for us to start to see and feel this impact. We should see that throughout the school year. The other important thing to keep in mind here is, yes, this is meant to have quick results, but it's not a quick fix that's one and done and then we move on. We really should be able to sustain impact from this work. And again, that's what we've seen in other places in the state, that these schools turn around and they stay turned around. And that's our commitment long-term to the schools, is to make sure that they continue to provide excellent opportunities for students. I said this earlier, and I want to reiterate it here. We have to ensure that we have our best leaders and teachers in place to make this possible. As we think about effectiveness in this context, we're really looking at three things. The first is we've got to have people who have shown that they can impact student growth in really exceptional ways. So we got to look at your data and make sure that you have demonstrated excellence and commitment to growing students and improving outcomes. You also have to know your craft, like understand what it means to provide great instruction and be responsive to the needs of students. And finally, we got to be able to do that for all students. We just had a whole conversation and presentation on special education, but students in special education in these schools should have excellent outcomes as well. And so we've got to have teachers and leaders who are committed to that, committed to serving students who are emergent bilinguals, and every other student who shows up every day, that we're not just targeting part of the school. This truly is a whole school effort, and we are creating whole school outcomes. Timeline here is very similar to our other conversation related to high schools. We are committed and will do staff in school and parent and community engagement. That will continue into the new year, where we host sessions with faculty and staff, where we host sessions with parents and community to make sure they understand what this recommendation is and why we're making it. And then if the board does approve this, we would ask you to vote on it at the end of January. We will then quickly start preparing for next school year. So that means we immediately start staffing the school, finding the school leader, building that administrative team, hiring teachers and hiring support staff to make sure that we are ready to go next school year for the rapid growth and improvement that we absolutely expect. I want to end by addressing some questions that we expect folks to immediately ask, just to help clarify this from the beginning. I said that there were two parts to this. We want to restart Garza and Seguin with this ACE turnaround model, and we need to close Zapata. Part of what this closure is related to is due to the fact that we don't need 3 school buildings to serve the population of students that are at these 3 schools. There are not enough students to warrant 3 separate campuses. We showed you that in the quality school analysis when we talked about facility utilization. We know that we have buildings that are underutilized, and that's true here as well. So as we looked at those 3 schools, knowing that we could reduce down to 2, we needed to pick the school to close, and that's Zapata, and that's driven by facility needs. Out of the 3 buildings, it is absolutely the one in need of most repair and attention. And so we want our students in the best places, and so that meant that Garza's and Seguin's buildings were best suited for this moving forward. That raises the next question. What does this mean for students and families who are currently at Zapata? We would work with them to choose whether they attend Garza or Seguin moving forward. We want to ensure that we're supporting families through that decision, that they understand what that means, that they know they're going to get great support and experience with the school that they choose. We also want to balance out capacity to make sure that we're not just overloading one school versus the other. So those are individual conversations that we will have with families in the coming months. Garza and Seguin families, we would highly encourage to stay where they are, to be part of this process and be part of this transformation and help inform and guide it. Staff question becomes important as well, and we want to distinguish this, hopefully I'll do this clearly, between what we're talking about with the early college high school consolidation, because these will work very differently. We've actually had yesterday and today meetings with the early college high school staff at those 4 schools to talk about that consolidation recommendation and what that means for them. In that case, that policy that Chief Miller mentioned earlier determines placement. So we look at the 5 criteria and policy after we figure out how many teachers and staff we need at the new consolidated high school to determine that placement. That is not what happens in this case. This is a full restart and reconstitution of the schools, so everyone reapplies for their position if they want to be part of this ACE model moving forward. If they don't want to be part of the ACE schools, or if they aren't ultimately selected to be part of the ACE schools, we will offer that same priority transfer window to them so that they have the first right to consider other opportunities in La Jolla ISD. So we want to continue to be supportive and nurturing to the staff who are part of this change, but want to be very clear on how it happens so there's no confusion about process here. And then finally, we said this is an additional investment. How are we going to prioritize that and fund it? We are pursuing grant funds for this work. Specifically, we are applying for a grant from TEA to support one of the schools, and we're looking at other grants for the second school. Nonetheless, though, we will prioritize this in next year's budget because it is absolutely what our students need and what they deserve and what we should pursue in our path to educational excellence. But we did want to clarify that we are looking at sort of non-general funds in the interim to be able to support these costs. So with that, happy to go further into this as needed and answer questions.
Members of the board, do we have any questions for Dr. Little?
I do have a question. Excuse me. For any teachers that might not be in these three campuses, knowing that there is going to be a financial incentive to work at an ACE campus, are they going to have the opportunity to apply for any roles that open up at these campuses?
They will have the opportunity to apply, yes, and we will encourage some of them to apply. So part of what we will do is we will look at our own data and really identify our top performers in the district and celebrate them for those achievements and say, hey, here's a great opportunity for you to consider where you can really impact students who may need it the most in the organization. So yes, we will have open opportunity across the district. We will also look for educators outside of the district as needed, but we really want to make sure that we're giving the opportunity as much as possible to our best educators.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Little?
I have a question, Mr. Alvarez.
Okay, Dr. Marco?
Dr. Little, yeah, I'm really anticipating the outcome of the ACE model and looking forward to it for the next 3 years. But I just have a question because of the increase in rigor, which I anticipate, and expectations of the students. What if there's a need or a request for additional tutoring beyond or instruction beyond the 1 hour in the way of tutoring? Would there be ACE resources for that, or would that be other types of interventions that you would offer the students?
Yeah, so to respond to that, part of the extra hour of the day is already anticipating that students may need additional support. So that's what's built in. But beyond that, that's part of why the school will also stay open longer. So if students need additional opportunities, not just academically, but this becomes a really great exposure opportunity as well to say, hey, let me understand and explore things that may not exist or may not have existed at my elementary school. So tutoring will still happen after school. That will still be something that we provide to make sure that students are making the progress necessary.
Thank you.
Dr. Hernandez?
You mentioned that the parents could choose if they go to either school. And then, so the question is, how are we going to address that with the parents? And then is there going to be transportation regarding any whichever school they choose?
Yeah, so we will start with broad family and community meetings at all three school communities right at the turn of the new year. So we'll go out and we'll have conversations and answer questions and support them through that. And then we'll be following up with those families individually to understand sort of what they need, what they want, and ultimately help them make that decision on whether they want to go to Garza or to Seguin. In either case, yes, we will provide transportation so that that's not a barrier or a limitation to their decision.
Thank you.
Good question, Dr. Hernandez. I was going to ask the same one. Any other questions for Dr. Little? So of your presentation, it was great, very informative, as I've stated in the past. The two slides that I find really important, and I asked our viewers and those present to particularly pay attention to, are slides 39 and 57, because you give the timeline, you talk about the phasing, when we take action on this, so that's greatly appreciated. So I appreciate the fact that you roll those out and you share those with us.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really important. Members of the board, do we have any other questions for Mr. Little or Dr. Little?
I have a comment, if I can, Dr. Little. I just want to say that I've had the opportunity to actually see one of these ACE schools when we went to Aldine ISD, and I want to say that it was phenomenal. I mean, Dr. Sorensen was there with me there when we went, and it's a very different atmosphere. And I just look forward to see how the board votes, to see, potentially having these schools turn around in 2 years, right, to a different, to an A or B campus. That would be amazing. So I look forward to see how this, gets implemented.
Thank you for sharing that.
And like always, we're very innovative, so I'm looking forward to being the only school in South Texas to be doing it. All right, next item on the agenda is consent agenda item. Do I have a motion?
I move to
Mr.
approve the
President, before
consent
there's a
agenda.
motion, I'd like to abstain from one particular agenda item. That's contract or agenda item 8.16.
Which item? Say it again.
So it'd be agenda
It'll
item,
be
if I'm not
under
mistaken?
contracts, agenda item 8.16, approval of memorandum of understanding between La Jolla ISD and South Texas College, CADA. I'd like to abstain from that one agenda item.
Thank you, Dr. Margot. That's noted. Okay, so we will pull that item for a separate vote?
Okay.
We okay with that, Philip? Yes. Okay. So it's noted, Dr. Margot. Thank you for clarifying. Anyone else? Seeing that we don't have any other changes, do I have a motion to approve agenda items?
I move to approve consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what we have on the agenda next. Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Philip, for the clarification. So let's go ahead and take a vote on agenda item 8.16, if I'm not mistaken. And that is, again, approval of memorandum and understanding between the La Jolla ISD and South Texas College Center for Advanced Training and Apprenticeship, CADA. Do I have a motion?
And for the record, I am abstaining from this vote.
Noted, Dr. Margot. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I motion to approve section 8.16.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Glad we were able to take care of that. Next item on the agenda will be, we will be going into closed session. At this time, we'll be going into closed session as stated earlier, under Government Code Section 551.001, 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.129, and 551.0821. It is 7:27. We are now in closed session. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back from closed session. The time is 9:17 p.m. We will now move forward with action and discussion items. Next item on the agenda is 11.1, determination of La Jolla ISD votes for the Board of Directors of the Hidalgo County Appraisal District. Do I have a motion?
I move that the board cast all 155 of its votes for Amador Requenes.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 11.2, consider and take action regarding the superintendent's recommendation for the proposed termination of term contract employees, including Karen Verial. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 11.2.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is 11.3, final action and discussion. Consider take action to approve the termination of employees on term contracts. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve 11.3.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is our calendar. 12.1, December 23rd, 2024 through January 3rd, 2025, Christmas break. There will be no classes. District Professional Learning Day, January 6th, no classes, 2025. January 15th, 2025, regular board meeting. January 25th, 2025, La Jolla ISD participation at the Texas Citrus Parade. January 29th, 2025, regular board meeting. Next item on the agenda is agenda item number 13. This is an opportunity for board members or superintendent to make any remarks. Superintendent Sorensen.
Thank you, President Alvarez. I have a couple of quick remarks. One, in the next, how many more mornings do we have? And that's how I judge winter break. How many more mornings do we have to get up? But in the next couple of weeks, we have some engagements with the community that I really would like to urge community members to come out and visit with us. We have our early college, high school community meetings where we really want to engage with our parents around the recommendation for our early college, high schools. So parents, please come engage with us and learn about the recommendations. And we really want to also answer questions regarding the early college, high school recommendations. So please, please, please check out on our website and on our Facebook page when those early college, high school meetings are. We also have additional sessions coming up around the state of the district and our quality seats analysis. So again, please come learn about the state of the district. It's really helpful to know where we are as we look forward to strategic planning sessions coming up with the community after winter break. So please, again, come engage with us as we learn about the current state of the district. So please check out all of our communications about our quality seats analysis and state of the district. But more importantly, I just want to take a moment, as this is our last meeting before winter break, to really wish everybody a happy holidays, a happy, healthy new year, and just finish out this last week and a half super strong. Everybody has put in so much time, energy, effort, and love in La Jolla ISD this first semester that I know that everybody is looking forward to a fantastic winter break. And you all deserve it. Every single employee, every single teacher, every single leader in this district, every single bus driver. I mean, if I started naming positions, we'd be here all night. But every single employee has done such an incredible job this first semester. So have a happy holiday season. Enjoy your families. Enjoy your time off. Thank you to our parents for making sure that your children arrive with us every single day. We appreciate every single one of you. Happy holiday season, and take care of yourselves and your families.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Any members of the board like to say anything at this time?
I had a comment I'd like to say to reinforce what Dr. Sorensen said regarding the state of the district events that they're having. I would really also like to just stress that as well. You know, some of us members have been going to those events, and you know, it'd be nice to see more parents, more staff there. It's great seeing all the cabinet, seeing, you know, Dr. Sorensen there. So I really, really would like to see some more parents engaged. And I think that would really address some of the rumors and some of the concerns that were brought up during the public comment. I think that presentation, that data would really help clear up some things and the decisions we make and why we make them. And I just think it would be a very good opportunity for the community to see these presentations.
Thank you so much, Vice President.
Yes, thank you, Vice President Chavez. Any other members, seeing that this is the last meeting for the year? Anybody else would like to say anything?
Happy holidays to everyone near and afar, and cabinet members, thank you. Board members, superintendent, thank you.
Happy holidays to everybody, fellow board members, staff, executives, staff as well. Hope you enjoy your holidays. Rest.
Anybody?
Happy holidays to all.
And Happy New Year's as well.
Oh, yeah.
We hope everybody enjoys their break. We know it's very well deserved, both the kids and the teachers, so enjoy.
Yeah, and get ready to come back prepared, ready to hit the books and
Yes.
be the best you can be.
Yes, I would like to take this opportunity for all of you to know that we're very grateful to each and every one of you for the great work that you've done. This is a time of the season when we do give thanks, not only to our families, our friends, but those that we work with. It's interesting when we took this task on, what a learning curve this has been for all of us. And let me tell you, we're very grateful. And it's been my pleasure, and I feel safe saying this about the other board members. It's been our pleasure to work closely with you. We really don't consider ourselves members of the board. We consider ourselves members of a family. And so we're very grateful to all of you. As I've stressed to you in the past, we are the envy, and I share this openly to a lot of folks. As I travel, not only in the Rio Grande Valley, but around the state, I hear nothing but great things about not only what the teachers are doing, but what staff is doing and how wonderful our children are. I can't stop but thinking about the young man who we were able to acknowledge last week or 2 weeks ago that went to Washington. Like, I can't stop thinking about him. Like, how amazing, and to see his mother there with his two siblings how proud they were, to hear about their older brother and the accomplishments he's made. I mean, one of 30 individuals in the country. Like, that's amazing. Like, that's all I ever brag about, besides bragging about this great district that we work in. So we're very grateful to all of you. And so we look forward to another year. February 1st for all of us was a game changer, and it certainly has been a great experience. I think my fellow board members to my right and left are a little older than I am by minutes, as they were sworn in before I was. But I'm very grateful to be working for this fine institution, this fine district, and for the fine people of La Jolla. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to do so. If there's anything that we can help you with, certainly reach out to Marcy. I want to take this opportunity to give Marcy her Christmas gift, and that is, we're very grateful to you, Marcy. Like, we couldn't have asked for a better superintendent. You had the foresight to select the best cabinet, and so we're very grateful for that. Diana, thank you for all the work that you've done, and continue the work that you're doing for us. We know that there are other schools that are taking your time, but when you're here, we know that you're devoted, and you're looking at what's in the best interest of our school district. So thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoy the holidays. Be safe, and we look forward to seeing you in January. So with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn this meeting at 9:26 p.m.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye for the last time in 2024.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Motion carries. We have unanimous. Have a good night.